In the early 16th century, amid wars and intrigues, Niccolò Machiavelli dared to break conventions. His book, The Prince, shook the foundations of morality in his time. He revealed that power does not flourish only from kindness, but requires cunning, calculation, and at times even strategic cruelty. What seemed like coldness was in fact an unflinching gaze upon human nature and its eternal struggle for dominion. The question that still echoes today is, why do so many good men, loyal to rules and trusting of others, end up defeated in competitive arenas? Meanwhile, manipulators seem to prosper with ease. Machiavelli knew it is not enough to be good. To survive, even the virtuous must understand the game, learn its hidden rules, and adopt prudence as a shield and cunning as a sword. His work was not written as a manual for villains, but as an invitation to clarity. He did not seek to promote evil, but to reveal how the world truly operates. Beneath his harshness lies a call to perceive reality without illusions. For only those who see men as they are and not as they wish them to be can weather the storms of life with dignity and unshakable strength. Machiavelli's first lesson is clear: understand human nature. He did not reduce it to being good or evil, but to forces shaped by circumstances, interests, and needs. Man, he wrote, is ungrateful, fickle, deceptive, cowardly in the face of danger, and greedy for profit. A harsh observation, yet not a condemnation. Above all, it was a warning of how fragile virtue becomes without vigilance. For Machiavelli, kindness was not an absolute. It was instead a tool to be used wisely, adjusted to circumstances. He warned, he who proclaims goodness in every situation is doomed to ruin, surrounded by men who are not good. The lesson is uncomfortable, but essential. One must balance idealism with pragmatism, kindness with discernment, compassion with prudence. In literature, Jean Valjean from Les Miserables embodies this balance. A good man, yet not naive. In a hostile world, he needed cunning to protect those he loved. He discovered that pure kindness, without strategy, is devoured by the strong. His journey echoes Machiavelli's teaching. Be just but not blind, be generous but also capable of choosing cold calculation when necessary. Modern psychology confirms this vision. Research shows that overly empathetic people often ignore signs of manipulation. Jennifer Freed, in her studies of betrayal, revealed that those who trust blindly miss subtle signs of disloyalty, noticing them only when it is too late. A pure heart without the armor of caution becomes easy prey. Kindness without vigilance is an invitation to misfortune. Nietzsche in Beyond Good and Evil reinforced this point. Kindness that does not know how to impose itself is merely weakness masked as virtue. True generosity is not passive, it requires firmness and limits. Here he aligns with Machiavelli. Both saw that compassion without strength is vulnerability. The wise man must be kind, but never naive. Otherwise, his light is extinguished by the world's darkness. Consider the corporate environment. A professional always willing to help, but who never receives support in return, ends up drained and exploited. Machiavelli would suggest, observe, select, and help only those who show reciprocity. This is not selfishness, but survival strategy. Kindness must be distributed with care like gold, invested where it can yield returns of loyalty and trust. The second lesson, the power of appearance. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eyes than by the hands. Few can touch, but all can see. Thus, the image projected weighs more than hidden reality. To those who worship authenticity, this may sound uncomfortable, but it is an unchanging social truth. Appearance is not falsehood. It is perception, and perception shapes destinies as much as actions. Social psychology confirms this. Crucial judgments are formed within fractions of a second when looking at a face. Posture, tone of voice, and clothing communicate more than long speeches. Amy Cuddy showed that simply expanding one's posture increases perceptions of confidence and authority. For the good-hearted, this means integrity is not enough. One must also appear strong, so kindness will not be dismissed. Shakespeare revealed this dynamic in Hamlet. Claudius, the usurper, projects the image of a virtuous king and thus sustains his power, though tainted by crime. Hamlet, hesitant and erratic, is perceived as weak, despite his wisdom. The world judges by appearances. Empty brightness deceives while depth without brilliance is ignored. True value must clothe itself convincingly to be acknowledged. Nietzsche agreed. The world believes more in brilliance than in essence. His words echo Machiavelli's warning. For the kind-hearted, the lesson is unavoidable. Align appearance with essence, projecting strength without betraying values. Only then does virtue become visible, respected and undeniable, preventing it from being mistaken for weakness or relegated to silence by those who cannot see beyond the surface. The third lesson, the art of adaptation. Machiavelli wrote, "He who adjusts his conduct to the nature of the times will triumph. He who does not will be destroyed. The world is in constant flux, and rigidity is its mortal enemy." To adapt is not to betray principles, but to recognize the moment, adjust the path, and preserve the essential. The wise man bends to the wind, yet keeps his roots firm. Ancient literature illustrates this well. Odysseus, in his Odyssey, did not survive by strength alone, but by cunning shaped anew with each trial. Jean Valjean too adapted, moving from bitterness to compassion, and Heraclitus proclaimed, "Nothing is permanent except change." To resist the flow is to sink. To accept it is to sail, steering with wisdom and courage, even in turbulent seas. Modern times revealed the same truth. During the pandemic, many fell unable to change. Others prospered by reinventing themselves through remote work or learning new skills. Flexibility proved to be strength. Kindness, when rigid, breaks. When flexible, it becomes a bridge, sustaining relationships, careers, and entire lives amid the inevitable chaos of history and its relentless storms. The fourth lesson, respect above love. For Machiavelli, it is safer to be respected than loved. Love is fickle, subject to moods. Respect, once earned, becomes a barrier against betrayal. This is not cruelty, but firmness. A man who is merely loved can be easily offended. A man who is respected instills caution, even in his enemies. Respect is the invisible fortress that shields the just from opportunism. This is clear in the workplace. Leaders who seek only to please everyone lose authority. Those who set firm boundaries, demonstrate competence, and make difficult decisions, even if not loved, are recognized. Respect does not demand cruelty. It requires clarity and consistency. It is the key that keeps doors open without the need to beg for the unstable affection of others. Kant saw respect as a moral foundation. Machiavelli, however, raised it to a tool of power. Both are not contradictory but complementary. Respect is order and balance. It is also protection against treachery. Love may be beautiful but unstable. Respect is solid as stone. The man who earns it gains a shield against life's storms, for respect endures when affection fades. In the end, Machiavelli's 4 lessons, understanding human nature, cultivating appearance, adapting to change, and prioritizing respect, are compasses for anyone who seeks to unite kindness with strength. He does not teach us to abandon virtue, but to temper it with strategy. The true wise man is not naive but firm, not cruel but astute. Thus, kindness becomes invincible and his legacy eternal. Machiavelli's lessons do not deny kindness but redefine it. He does not ask man to abandon his values, but to use them as tools of strategy. Naivety, in contrast, is weakness. The wise recognize that virtue without intelligence is like a sword without an edge. It may shine, but it does not cut. True strength lies in uniting ethics with cunning, compassion with vigilance, kindness with prudence. To understand human nature is to look beyond illusions. Machiavelli saw men driven by interests and needs, not because they were condemned to evil, but because they were shaped by circumstances. Those who believe in universal goodness blind themselves to risks. The prudent see flaws in others not to judge but to protect themselves, thus avoiding the traps of opportunism and betrayal. Kindness, when used strategically, becomes a shield against manipulation. It is not deceit but awareness. To be kind does not mean surrendering caution or allowing oneself to be exploited. It is to recognize the value of giving without expecting too much in return, of offering without losing balance. The man who masters this art is not a fool, but wise. for he knows both generosity and restraint. The power of appearance requires reflection. Many reject the idea of caring about image, seeing it as vanity. But Machiavelli reminds us, the world judges first by what it sees. Those who ignore this lose ground before even speaking. Presence must inspire confidence. A steady gaze, upright posture, and clear voice are often more decisive than long arguments or hidden truths. History proves that kings, leaders, and rulers were sustained more by image than by deeds. A crown, a uniform, a symbol, all could weigh more than the true essence of the person. Machiavelli did not encourage falsehood, but recognition of this rule. The wise must align appearance with value, so they are neither ignored nor mistaken for the weak. Adaptation is survival. The world changes endlessly, and those who cling to rigidity are crushed under the weight of time. Machiavelli warned, to adjust to circumstances is wisdom. It does not mean renouncing morality, but recognizing the right moment to be firm and the right moment to be flexible. He who learns to move with the flow triumphs even in stormy seas. Heraclitus said that life is like a river in constant motion. To resist change is futile. The wise learn to navigate. So too must the kind-hearted. Rigidity turns virtue into weakness, while flexibility strengthens kindness, making it adaptable to each time's demands. To be good and adaptable at once is power, a force that preserves rather than destroys. Modern times have proven this truth. Those who resisted the changes imposed by history were left behind, but those who adapted prospered, even in chaos. Kindness, when combined with resilience and strategy, survives and expands. It becomes a bridge between different worlds, a route that bends without breaking, a beacon that continues to shine amid the inevitable storms of existence. Respect above love is the strongest fortress. Love is sweet but fleeting. It can vanish in an instant of displeasure. Respect, on the other hand, endures even in conflict. Machiavelli knew that true authority is born from recognition of firmness and competence. The respected man does not beg for affection, for his posture already commands caution from all who approach. In government, at work, or in personal relationships, he who seeks only love loses authority. Seeking to please everyone, he becomes fragile. The leader who pursues respect, however, maintains his position even when challenged. Respect does not demand violence, but clarity and coherence. It is earned through the consistency of one who acts firmly, unbent by the passing whims of others. Kant defended respect as the moral foundation of coexistence. Machiavelli, however, saw it as a tool of power. The two perspectives are not opposed but complementary. Respect brings order and balance. It is also protection against betrayal. Love may be beautiful but unstable. Respect, once earned, is solid as stone. He who gains it holds a shield against life's storms. Neuroscience confirms this distinction. Studies show that respect generates emotional stability and trust, while the pursuit of love, when frustrated, brings despair and destructive impulses. The man who leads with respect creates safety and predictability. The one who relies only on being loved risks losing control, becoming a hostage to the volatile approval of others. Machiavelli was not an advocate of cruelty. He was an attentive observer of human nature. His lessons may sound harsh, but they are not calls to cynicism. They are calls to clarity. He reminds us that virtue without prudence becomes weakness, and kindness without intelligence is easily exploited. The wise do not abandon kindness, but protect it with the armor of strategy and reason. Men forget their father's death sooner than the loss of their inheritance, wrote Machiavelli. A harsh phrase, yet revealing. He understood that interests often outweigh affections. Those who ignore this reality expose themselves to betrayal and disappointment. The wise, however, who grasp human motivations act with calculation. Thus their kindness is not destroyed, but safeguarded against exploitation. Strategic kindness does not mean absolute coldness. On the contrary, it means applying compassion effectively where it can bear fruit. It is investing energy only where there is reciprocity. It is protecting oneself from those who only take and never give. This is not selfishness, but practical wisdom. A heart guarded by prudence can love more intensely and shine longer in the world. Leadership that unites kindness and strength endures. The leader who seeks only sympathy loses command. The one who leads with respect and clarity, even if not loved by all, earns true loyalty. Kindness, when allied with authority, becomes invincible. It is not a matter of choosing between love and respect, but of balancing both, with priority given to what is lasting. Appearance, adaptation, and respect, together with the understanding of human nature, form the four pillars of Machiavellian wisdom. Each is a key: understanding men, projecting strength, adapting to change, and earning respect. There is no greater virtue than combining these forces. In this balance, kindness ceases to be naivety and becomes power, capable of shaping destinies with wisdom. Life demands choices. Ideally, one might live only by purity and truth, but the world is not molded by ideals but by interests and circumstances. Machiavelli calls us to maturity, to accept the world as it is, not to become cruel, but to be strong. He who sees reality without illusions finds the freedom to act with prudence and effectiveness. Thus, Machiavelli's four lessons echo as warning and guide. It is not about abandoning kindness, but protecting it from exploitation. It is not about renouncing compassion, but strengthening it with discernment. He who unites generosity and intelligence finds balance. He who lives with only one or the other is lost. True strength is born from the union of opposites. Machiavelli does not teach us cruelty, but wisdom. His voice echoes across centuries, reminding us that naivety is weakness. Kindness, when strategic, is power. Compassion, when vigilant, is strength. Respect, when earned, is protection. Let each man and woman learn, therefore, to unite ethics with cunning, kindness with prudence, so as to live with dignity, strength, and wisdom in an uncertain world. True kindness does not dissolve before the world's harshness. It strengthens like iron tempered in fire. Machiavelli did not ask us to abandon virtue, but to temper it with strategy. For kindness, when naive, is devoured. But when armed with prudence, it becomes an unstoppable force, capable of illuminating even the darkest corners of life and human relationships. The wise man understands that power is not brute force alone, but the art of balancing appearance, adaptation, and respect. He is not deceived by fleeting applause, nor does he seek to please everyone. He prefers the solidity of respect to the volatility of love. He values the clarity of strategy above the risk of naivety. In this way, his kindness remains intact, protected by the wall of prudence. Each of Machiavelli's lessons is an invitation to reflect on practical life. To understand human nature saves us from dangerous illusions. To care for appearance ensures we are given a place of respect. To adapt to change allows us to survive crises. To inspire respect rather than love guarantees stability. These four pillars are not tools of tyranny, but foundations of lucid survival. Machiavelli knew that naive fragility exposes good-hearted men to danger. Thus he insisted on vigilance. Be kind but attentive. Be generous but selective. Do not be carried away by passions that blind or by promises that charm only to betray. True kindness is not blind. It is clear-sighted, capable of seeing beyond the masks that others wear to deceive or manipulate. The power of appearance is not limited to clothing or posture. It extends to words, to silence, and even to the smallest gestures. A man who masters his presence wins ground without speaking a word. His stance inspires confidence. His voice resonates with authority. Thus, even before presenting arguments, he has already established respect. Whoever masters perception wins the first battle. Adaptation is not merely change for survival. It is transformation without losing essence. The river flows, always water, but its shape shifts with every curve. So too the wise man, faithful to his values, yet able to bend to the wind, the rigid break, the flexible endure. Life demands this balance, my firmness in the heart, mobility in conduct. Respect, once earned, opens doors that love cannot. The loved man may be forgotten. The respected man is remembered in every decision. Respect builds solid reputations sustained by coherence. It is like an invisible fortress. Even when attacked, it does not yield easily. Respect imposes limits on others, shielding the dignity of the one who bears it. Machiavelli observed the world with the eyes of a realist. He knew life is not shaped by ideals alone, but by forces in conflict. He did not write to make us cruel, but to make us lucid. His teaching is simple and profound. If you wish to prosper, it is not enough to be good. You must be good with intelligence, prudence, and calculation. Only then does kindness survive. Those who live only by naive goodness end up exploited. History is full of men and women who lost everything by trusting blindly. But those who united kindness with vigilance managed to protect themselves and others. Machiavelli did not preach absolute coldness but awareness. Kindness when blind leads to ruin. Kindness when conscious leads to victory. The 4 lessons are mirrors for the present. At work, in family, in politics, or in relationships, they resound. Human nature has not changed. We are still driven by interests, appearances, and the pursuit of power. The world remains in flux, and respect still outweighs love. Those who learn these lessons cease to be victims and become masters of their own destinies. Understanding human nature frees us from disappointment. Knowing that people are flawed and self-interested prepares us better, not to hate, but to act prudently. This clarity is a shield against betrayal. He who understands the fragility of others forgives without being deceived, helps without being exploited, and trusts without surrendering everything. Wisdom is born of this balance between heart and reason. The power of appearance is not vanity, but survival. In a world of quick judgments, those who present themselves with firmness inspire confidence. Proper posture, calm gaze, and decisive tone precede any argument. The wise do not ignore this. They know that to be is essential, but to seem is inevitable. And he who unites being with seeming walks with advantage. The art of adaptation requires humility. It is not weakness, but intelligence. The man who insists on old methods in new times is crushed by history's advance. But the one who learns, adjusts, and evolves endures. Change is not the enemy, but the teacher. The world is always in motion, and the wise man does not fight the river. He learns to navigate it. Respect as a foundation is stronger than love as ornament. Love may be sweet, but it is unstable. Respect, once earned, remains even in conflict. The wise seek respect not for vanity, but for the security it brings. They know love may be given and withdrawn, but respect, once engraved, is not easily erased. The union of the 4 lessons is the path to true leadership. To master only one is not enough. The wise man understands human nature, cares for appearance, adapts to change, and earns respect. Together, these forces form the figure of one who not only survives but prospers. He becomes a beacon in the dark, a bridge in chaos, a root in the storm. Machiavelli did not write to destroy virtue, but to preserve it in a hostile world. His voice carries through centuries because his vision is timeless. He spoke of human nature, and that does not change. We remain fragile, self-interested, fickle, yet also capable of greatness. He who recognizes this duality becomes prudent, and in prudence lies strength. The power of appearance, often criticized, is inevitable. He who ignores how he is seen loses ground. He who understands perception earns respect. The same applies to adaptation. To resist change is slow suicide. Respect, meanwhile, is the pillar that sustains authority. Combined, these truths transform an ordinary man into a solid, unshakable leader. The 4 lessons do not invite cynicism, but maturity. The world does not bow to naive hearts, nor is it sustained by cruelty alone. Wisdom lies in balance, to be kind, but not foolish, firm, but not cruel, flexible, but not without principles. This is the equilibrium that yields stability and true power, capable of withstanding the test of time. Machiavelli's legacy is a guide for those who seek dignity. It is not enough to seek love. One must earn respect. It is not enough to be virtuous. One must understand human nature. It is not enough to be rigid. One must adapt. It is not enough to be true. One must also appear strong. He who grasps these lessons rises above common fragility. In the end, Machiavelli teaches that kindness, when allied with prudence, is power. The wise man is not deceived by appearances, but uses his own as a shield. He does not fight against the flow of time, but learns to navigate it. He does not chase unstable love, but builds solid respect. Thus his life is not left to chance but guided by wisdom. Naive kindness is like a fragile flame in the wind. beautiful yet easily extinguished. Strategic kindness, however, is like fire protected in the forge. It endures, grows, and transforms. Machiavelli does not invite the abandonment of virtue, but its protection. He shows that to be good requires more than purity of heart. It demands intelligence, prudence, and firmness against forces that constantly seek to smother it. To understand human nature is to accept that man can be both generous and treacherous. This clarity is not meant to breed hatred, but to prevent disappointment. The wise are not surprised by the flaws of others, for they foresee them. And by foreseeing, they protect themselves and those they love. It is this lucid vision that makes kindness not weakness, but a lasting virtue. Appearance is the bridge between essence and the world. Virtue unperceived is treated as weakness. The man who seems fragile will be treated as fragile, even if he is strong. The man who projects firmness will be respected, even in silence. Wisdom lies in aligning being with seeming, so that inner reality shines without being obscured by the hurried judgments of human eyes. Adaptation is the law of life. The river that ceases to flow rots. The tree that will not bend to the wind is torn from the ground. The man who clings to rigidity will be broken by inevitable change. He who learns to adjust without losing essence remains. Flexibility is not surrender but survival. True strength is the ability to reinvent oneself. Respect is the safest fortress. It does not depend on passing moods or unstable affections. Once earned, it becomes an invisible wall that protects the just. Love may be withdrawn, but respect endures through time, harder to obtain, but more lasting. Thus Machiavelli warned, "Seek respect first, for within it lies the root of true authority." The man who unites understanding of human nature, care for appearance, adaptation to change, and the conquest of respect becomes solid as stone. He is not deceived by naivety, not ignored by society, not broken by time, nor betrayed by inconstancy. He rises as a figure of prudence and firmness, able to protect his kindness without allowing it to be exploited. Machiavelli did not write for rulers alone. His lessons serve every man and woman who wishes to live with dignity. At home, at work, in friendships, in daily struggles, these 4 keys apply. The world remains the same in essence, built of interests, appearances, change, and disputes. Those who grasp this do not lose their kindness, but learn to preserve it amid inevitable chaos. The mistake of many is to believe that being good is enough. It is not. The good man without prudence is an easy target. The good man without appearance is ignored. The good man without adaptation is defeated by time. The good man without respect is easily betrayed. Only when kindness is tempered with intelligence does it become power. Only when joined with strategy does it endure. Thus the paradox of kindness dissolves. It is not weakness but strength, though only when sustained by prudence. Machiavelli did not seek to destroy virtue, but to shield it from exploitation. He calls us to be not merely good, but good with wisdom. Good in understanding men, good in projecting firmness, good in adapting to time, good in earning respect. This is victory. In conclusion, Machiavelli did not teach malice, but maturity. His message endures across centuries because it touches the core of human nature. He reminds us that naivety leads to ruin, but strategic kindness is power. That respect is more solid than love. That adaptation is stronger than rigidity. That appearance shapes destinies, and that the wise unite all these to live with strength and wisdom. And now reflect. In a world where naivety is punished and strength rewarded, will you allow your kindness to be exploited, or will you transform it into wisdom and power? The choice is yours. If this message resonated with you, join us, subscribe, share, and keep walking this path of strategy and resilience. For only those who unite kindness with prudence can truly prevail.